Hi everyone, Sandy here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm excited to get started on a tutorial for my next project for Country Craft Creations. I'll be using Simple Stories Happy Trails paper collection, one sheet of 12 by 12 medium weight chipboard, 6 sheets of the craft artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations. I'll also be using my art glitter glue, 1/4 inch score tape, large magnets. These are all from Country Craft Creations. And then you'll want to ink on your color if you're going to ink your pages. And I have here chocolate by Color Philosophy. Now I've already made one of these little flip folios. This little album finished size measures 6.5 by 4.5. A little bit over 4.5. So that's the finished size. This is the first one that I made, so I'm going to be showing you another one using the same papers. I have started out on these projects with 2 sheets of each of the patterns for this Happy Trails collection, and I believe there are 12 different sheets, so that's what you're going to need for yours. And again, the artisan cardstock. So this, you're also going to want an elastic closure. This is a Tim Holtz one that goes through an eyelet, and then it comes through the other side here. So this opens up. I also used the chipboard stickers from the collection, as well as some of the ephemera bits and pieces. So here on the inside it opens up like this, and I'm just going to quickly show you this one real quick. It opens here, has a flap here for this double section here, and then this flips up here, and then this opens up. I've already untied it, but for a little mini waterfall with a tag in the back of it. And then on the right side we have another flip up and down for the waterfalls here. So it's a quick little project to make. So I'm going to start on my second one real quick and show you how to make it. So let's get started. Pre-cut my pieces for my album, and I have sticky notes to show me the sizes. There will be a cutting guide for you, a PDF that you can download and print up, but you can also jot this down as you watch. But there will be a file that you can download and print up, a PDF file, as long as you have that on your computer or your phone. This is made out of chipboard, the cover is, so I have 2 pieces that are 6.5 by 4.5. And then for the spine, I have 1 piece that's 6.5 by 1 inches. So we have that. And then to wrap it, we're going to use 1 piece of the artisan cardstock. And you need to cut this 7.5 by 12. We'll trim it down as we need to, but what we're going to do is first take your ruler. This, I like to position this, it makes it easier for me. On the left side, I'm going to use my ruler that I can see through, and I'm going to take fine tip Sharpie, and I'm going to mark a 1/2 inch over from the edge. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Just line this up, because I like to have a 1/2 inch margin all the way around to wrap my cover. Now I'm going to be using the art glitter glue. So we'll take one of our 6.5 by 4.5 chipboard pieces, and we're going to glue it down right here up against these lines. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue. Now you can use score tape or the score tape sheets, whichever you prefer. Just get good coverage, and we're going to stick this straight down. I'm going to put the corner here and line it up so that it's nice and straight right here on these lines that I drew. So I'm going to burnish this down. Then grab your score tape, the 1/4 inch score tape, and I'm going to place this onto the cardstock right up against that chipboard for spacer guide. Next, you want your spine. So we put glue on this, just on one side. going to place it along that line and along the edge of the score tape. I'm just going to make sure that it's straight and burnish that down. Flip that back over, and one more piece of the 1/4 inch score tape. Turn this sideways so I can see it a little better. Put it on the cardstock right up against that chipboard. Burnish these down so that they're easier to peel up. Forgot to tell you on that first one. And then our last little piece. Glue on one side. And again, line it up on the line, right up against that spacer there with the score tape. So I'm going to burnish that down. As you can see, we have a little bit extra here. And that's okay, we're going to just cut that off. So I'm going to turn this and place my ruler. And get me another line here. Let's see, I want it this way. A 1/2 inch from the end of the chipboard, so I'm just going to draw a line. That will give us the 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to take my scissors. You could use your trimmer, and I'm just going to trim that off the end. Okay, so there's that. Next, we're ready to wrap this. So I'm just going to fold this up by standing my chipboard up, all 4 sides. And I'm going to grab my mitering tool and my 3/8 score tape. This is a metal mitering tool. If you don't have that, then you can just put it about 1/8 of an inch from the tip of the corner. So I'm going to grab my mat because I don't want to cut my table. Grab the mat. With this tool, I just place it right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my score tape down first. And I'm going to put it around all 4 edges onto the cardstock. Burnish your score tape so it's easier to peel off so that it sticks down good onto the cardstock. Next, we're going to need my cutting knife. Place this tool here. Like I said, if you don't have a tool, then you can use a piece of the chipboard as a spacer guide, or you can use your ruler and cut it just straight across 1/8 of an inch from the tip here. There's several different ways to cut your corners when you're mitering, so you do whatever is most comfortable for you. Okay, so there's that. And I like to do the long side first, on both long edges first, just burnishing that to Get a good coverage right there. And I take my art glitter glue and I put a line of glue right along the top of the chipboard onto that section. Now I'm going to go ahead and peel these two spacer, the paper backing off. These two here before I put this other one down. And I'll go ahead and peel this one off. Now we're ready to pull this down, so I just pull and stretch it towards the chipboard and get a good coverage here. Burnish it down. Burnish it there into the 1/4 inch space here. Okay. Then we're going to turn it around and we're going to do the other side. So I'm going to peel this off. Take your glue again, right along that top edge. Peel it down, pull it towards you, and burnish. And again, make sure you're burnishing that cardstock so that it sticks down into that spacing tape there. So there's that edge. So next we're going to do this. Now pull this off on one side. Now where you see if I can show you, where this piece comes at the end, you see how it extends a little bit on both sides? That's what you want so that you're not having a corner that's got a hole in it. But you want to make this go in, kind of like burnishing it down, like flatten it down so that this tucks in here, right like that. Then you want your glue, and then pull this down. And you should have a pretty good corner right here. You burnish that down good. So get this burnished. And there you have it. Just like that. The other side, same way. Peel this off. Make sure you bring this in. You could use the tip of your bone folder or your fingernail. Just kind of push it in. Glue. And pull it over. So that is our cover for the little album. Now the next thing we want to do is put spine cover on the inside. Now what I like to do on this particular one is use pattern paper. You can use cardstock. If you're using a good quality pattern paper, then you can use it for this. So I'm going to grab the pattern that I want to use, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've cut my spine cover. I decided to use this little map side of this collection by called Happy Trails. Couldn't even think about what it's called. And it's by Simple Stories, Happy Trails. So this is the map piece. There's the vehicles on the back. So either one would be cute, but I think I'm going to go with the map. And for this, I want to use score tape. So I have my 1 inch wide. If you have the sheets, that works great too. I'm just going to put this 3 strips across. I forgot to tell you, I cut this little piece 3 inches wide. So you want one 3 inches wide by 6 3/8 inches tall. So if you have a design, pattern design, you need to pay attention to which way you're cutting your paper so that it's going the right direction. Okay, so I'm going to burnish this down, and I did ink the edges on the ends. Doesn't matter on the sides because you're not going to see that. So grab your book cover. Remember, you still have the sticky in there in the inside, so peel all these off. And you want to use score tape because it will attach and hold down. It won't bubble up on you. So you're going to center this over the spine. You want to make sure it's going over the two little spacers here. And it's going to fit just about 1/16 of an inch from the top and from the bottom. So line it up straight as you can. And we're going to burnish this down. And the reason I use the pattern is because here in this 1-inch spine, there's not going to be any pages attached. This is a folio, so there's not going to be a hinge. Everything's going to be on the inside covers. So I'm going to burnish this like this into the spine. You want to use the rounded edge of your bone folder, not the pointy. You don't want to tear it. So get that really good in there, both sides. Pull it up a little bit to see it. And what that does is it pushes that pattern paper down into that space to give you a really good closure. So just burnish the heck out of this. You really want it stuck down good on the sides and in the center. Okay, so that's our cover. Going to wait on probably the pattern of this. I think I like the wrapped on the outside like I did the other one. Just notice we have this wrapped around. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut the cardstock for my flaps and waterfalls, and then we'll get those put into the book. I have pre-cut my cardstock. I'm using the Craft Artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations. This is for the waterfall piece that goes in the inside back cover. Right here, you're going to have 2 flaps and 6 waterfalls in here. So I'm going to score these. I have one piece that is 4 3/8 by 7 1/4. And we're going to score the 7 1/4 inch sides. So put that in at the top where you see the lines are going down. So this is across the top. And we're going to score at, double check my notes here, we're going to score at a 1/2 inch on both ends. So half here. Let's turn it around and score a 1/2 on this end. So that's the waterfall base there. And then you need 2 pieces that are 4 3/8 by 4 1/2. 4 3/8 by 4 1/2. There's the 4 1/2, and there's your 4 3/8. And we're going to score the 4 1/2 inch side at a 1/2 inch. This is the closure flaps. So make sure you have your 4 1/2 in at the top, right there. Score at a 1/2 inch. So those are the 2 closure pieces. And then the 6 waterfalls. These were cut 4 3/8 by 4 3/8, so you're just going to score one side at a 1/2 inch. Do this on all 6. Okay, I'm going to put those all together. Put my notes here so I know what the piece sizes are. We're going to go ahead and, since we have the scoreboard out, and go ahead and do all the others. So the next one is our left flaps here, which go on the left side. And we have one piece that is 6 3/8 by 4 3/4. We're going to score this 4 3/4 inch side at 1/2 inch. This is the hinge part, the 1/2 inch right here. And we're going to score it. This one just stays at 1/2 inch. So this is the single one. Lay that aside. Then we take this bigger piece that is also 6 3/8, but the length here is 8 1/8. So we're going to score the 8 1/8 side at 1/2 inch. 3/4 of an inch to give us a 1/4 inch little gusset here. And then we're also going to score it at 5 1/8 and 5 1/4. Oops. And that just gives us a little gusset here. And I slipped right there, so I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm just going to rub that out. Okay, so this is going to make a flap. So I'm going to grab my chomper and I'm going to corner around the side that's the narrowest here, not the side with the 1/2 inch, the opposite side. I'm just going to go ahead and corner around these. This will make a flap. Okay, so that's the left flap, so I'm going to put that right there with that. And then next we need the top and bottom flaps that go on the inside, on the left side. So we have two that I cut 4 1/2 by 4 3/8, and we're going to score our 4 1/2 inch side. There's the 4 1/2 inch side, just making sure. 4 3/8. Okay, here's your 4 1/2. Just make sure that you're paying attention to the one you have. We're going to score it at 1/2 inch. 4 1/2 is up here at the top. 4 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch. That gives us that 1/4 inch little gusset there. So let's make sure we have our 4 1/2 at the top, 1/2 inch, and 3/4. So we're going to put this back on there. That goes to our left side. There, let's go to the top and the bottom. So let me look at them really quick. Yeah, we can go ahead and round these since we've got that out right now. Let's pick one. You're going to round opposite of the score lines. So I'm using the 1/2 inch. Okay. And on this one here, the waterfall pieces for the right side, let me grab these. Those are also rounded, so I'm going to make sure I get the two pieces that are taller. These two here. So the side opposite, the two corners opposite of your hinge, we're going to do the 1/2 inch corner rounding as well. So that way they'll be already done. Okay, there we go. Put these back together. Then we need, for the inside of the left side of the book, you need two that are 4 3/8 by 2 7/8. These are the little doors that go on the inside, 4 3/8 by 2 7/8. But we're going to score the 2 7/8 inch side, put that in at the top, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch. Again, that gives us that 1/4 inch gusset. your 2 7/8 of an inch at the top, score at a 1/2 inch and 3/4. You have one waterfall base that is cut at 3 1/2 by 4 3/8. We're not going to score this. These are going to be just glued flat down, so we lay that aside with the stack. You have 3 pieces that are 3 1/2 by 4. The 3 1/2 by 4, we're going to score the 4-inch side on all 3 at just 3/8 of an inch. This is going to be smaller here. 3/8 of an inch. The 4-inch at the top, score at 3/8. That is your score mark to the left of the 1/2 inch. The 4-inch at the top and score at 3/8. There. So those are ready. And I did make a mistake on the waterfalls for the right side. These are supposed to be scored at 3/8 as well, and I did a 1/2 inch. So I am going to go in and just add my 3/4 inch right here. It'll work out okay because the paper will cover that. So I apologize for that. Correct that. I'll have that on the cutting guide where you should be scoring correctly. So that's the 1 score mark to the left of your 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to real quickly score all those again. I normally do a 1/2 inch, but for this little book I planned it to get the amount of waterfall pages for it to be scored at 3/8 of an inch. So we just fix that real quick. So that should be all of our scoring, so we're ready to do some assembly now. Okay, so while I'm working on adding in the insides of this album, I want to make sure, because this is directional, that I mark top over here with an arrow pointing up so that I know that this is the top of the album. Now we're going to work on this right side first. We want to cover this either with cardstock, which is what I'm going to use, or you can use pattern paper, but I'll show you why I use cardstock, because here on the inside you will see, you cannot see at all, unless you just pull it up, what's underneath here. Now you have a pocket here where you have the little, I have a little booklet in there, and so you want it smooth, you want it solid under there, so that we can slide that in and out easily. So I did cut, this will be on your cutting guide, one piece that is 6 3/8 tall by 4 3/8 wide. Now, let's set this aside and grab our base piece for the waterfall. And we've already scored it, so we're going to burnish the pieces down, these 1/2 inch hinge flaps. Just burnish them really good here and make sure they're nice and straight. So we're going to double check this. When this is folded, these 2 1/2 inch hinges are folded, this should now measure 6 3/8 by 4 3/8, which is what this piece is here. Pretty close. About like that. Maybe just a smidge hang over there, but that's not going to be a big issue. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my glue, I'm going to flip this over where the hinges are folded towards the center, and I'm going to put glue on just one side of it, each 1/2 inch hinge here, or flap. If you want to use score tape, that's fine. Now I'm going to line this up with this piece that I just cut. I'm we're going to put this here so that they're lined up on the bottom. And so you see I just have barely a little edge there, and I'm going to burnish that. Now this is going to be what attaches down into the book here. But we're going to add our waterfall flaps and things first. So I did that so that it stays. I should have wrapped it, but I didn't. But that's okay. It still will slide in okay. You've got that hinge in there. So if I had wrapped it around the edge, trimmed off a little bit of this bottom one, it would have worked better. Forgot to do that. So we're going to take our waterfall pieces. We're going to take our 6 waterfall pieces, lay these aside, and we're going to fold and burnish. Now remember, I re-scored mine, so I'm going to fold on the 3/8 inch. Get that as straight as I can. So I have the skinnier, you have the skinnier ones, so I still have a score mark on that other side. I can just kind of rub that and it will kind of pretty much take it out, and then it's going to be covered by patterned paper. So I'm going to do all these real quick. Remember, you just want to fold on the 3/8 inch score line. Okay, take your first one. You're going to put this in at the top, and we're going to line this up. Should fit right up against this. And square it at the bottom. So I'm going to put glue on the 3/8 inch hinge here. You can use your scoreboard as a positioner, or you can just line it up. Now lift up so that you can burnish under here. You want to make sure it sticks down and it's flush on both sides. And then you lift it up and you take your next one. Glue on that 3/8 inch hinge here. And you're going to line this up, the fold of this one, to the bottom cut edge of the flap you just attached. Just make sure they're lined up on the sides and the bottom. Burnish that. Lift up and get a good burnish. And then just continue with that until you have all 6 attached down. Okay, so we have all 6 attached, so when it folds down you have a little bit more space here, but that's okay. That's the way it ended up in this one, and your pattern paper there. So grab your book, and so we're going to glue this down right into the book. So we're going to put glue or score tape on this whole back piece. I like to use glue because it gives me just a little bit of wiggle room. Of course, score tape, if you get it on crooked, you can use undo to lift it up. You cannot use undo with glue. So it's just a preference of what you like. I'm going to line this up. I'm going to stand up so that I can hopefully see this better. So this should fit right along the bottom edge where this pattern paper is, and not into the fold. And it should line up pretty straight. Lift up and burnish. through all of that. Okay, I forgot. Let's see, I think we can still do that. My flaps here. So now take your two flaps. These are the same size. Fold and burnish your score lines. Now you could have put this on before we put this piece in. It's still going to work just fine. I'm going to do the bottom one first. So flip it all these back. And I'm going to line this up right along that bottom edge. So glue on the 1/2 inch. And we're going to line this up right along the bottom edge. Burnish that in. Now if you feel like you need extra thickness on this, we could have done another little score line, but I didn't on the original one. And then this one's going to line up on the top. So I'm going to bring this one up to make sure that I'm lining them up correctly. And this will be held closed with a magnet. So put glue on this 1/2 inch. And we're going to turn this so I can see. Make sure they match up down here, straight here at the top. And then this is going to close up like that. So if we want to go ahead and put a magnet on right now, let me grab a couple of them. These are the basic, large basic gray magnetic snaps that you can get from Country Craft Creations. I have some here that the backing's already pulled off, but I want to go ahead and use them. They may be stuck together here. Okay, there's those two. Now then, if you've already got the backing off, I was using them on another project and then changed my mind. So I'm going to take a piece of score tape and I'm going to attach it to the smooth side, the pretty side, like that. And then I'm going to put these two together. And I'm going to peel the backing off of this one. And I'm going to open this up and I'm going to place this about 3/4 of an inch down and in the center. Press this score tape down to make sure it sticks. And then I'm going to bring this flap up and then bring them together, line them up, and press down. Then separate it. So now you have your magnet in place. I'm going to put some score tape on this one too, just to keep them in place until I put my pattern paper on. Okay, so that is the right side for now, and we're ready to work on this left side. Before we start adding the flaps to this left side of our book, I want you to cut some strips for your 1/4 inch little gussets. So we need, these are 1/4 inch, so you need to cut these to just under, I'm looking for the ones I've already cut. On my trimmer, I figured it out that if I put my paper in, this is my trimmer, if I put my paper in right up to the edge of the silver part here, it gives me the right measurement that I need. So just cut off a couple of strips like this. So they measure just about a 1/4 of an inch. So that's what the gussets are. So these are going to fit just right in the 1/4 inch piece right here. Now, if you want to trim them down just a little bit smaller, you can, but you want to make sure they go right in between there. So I have several already cut here somewhere. There they are. And then you just need to cut them down to the length. So let me move this out of the way. So like on this one here, nothing on this 1/2 inch, but you do want a piece right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my scissors to cut it down the length that I need. Just snip it off straight across. And then if you want, these are pretty skinny, so you're going to ink your edges and the ends. And you want a strip on both sides. So in other words, I want one here, and I'll flip it over and put one on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this on so that you can see. And I'm using this map print again. And it is directional, but it's so small that you really can't tell here on this map. So this gives extra strength in that little section there. I'm going to grab another one here, and I'm going to measure this to see what length I need. Ink it up. So I just think it's easier to do this while these sections are flat, and you're not trying to do it once the book is all put together. But these are real important to add strength to those little sections. So I'm just going to put some glue on it really good, and then you put it down in there, make sure it stays within the fold lines, and then wipe off any extra glue you might have. Okay. Oops, that one kind of buckled up a little bit. Okay, there we go. Just burnish that in. So that's that one on that section. So we didn't put anything on this 1/2 inch. This is what it attaches into the book. This real skinny one here, you're not going to put anything on that. That's just to keep that in place. And we need nothing on this one. And I'm going to look here at these other places. I think my doors. So I'm going to burnish these. These are the little door flaps. So you just look at all of them. If it has a 1/4 inch space, then you're going to want to put some in there. Also need pattern paper on these two flat pieces that go on the left side in between these little 1/4 inch gussets. So I've also cut and inked these. So I'm just going to glue these down real quick. And there's two flaps, so you need a total of 4 pieces of pattern paper cut to fit, because you need one on each side. We're ready to start assembly here on this. So let's grab this piece that has the fold. Now if you want to add your pattern papers before assembly, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and put mine in, and then put my pattern papers on. So I'm going to flatten this down so that you only see the 1/2 inch, and you want it to the side opposite of your little pattern piece there. So you just put your glue on this 1/2 inch hinge. And we're going to line it up double check and make sure I'm putting it on correctly. Yes, okay. So you line up the fold of this just a 1/16 of an inch from the edge of your book, or right along that edge of your book. You don't want it going over. So I'm going to burnish that in. Wipe off any excess glue you might have. So just burnish that hinge so that when it stands up, you've got your 1/4 inch here, like that. So this is this flap that goes like this. Now then, we need this one here, the single flap here, and that's going to go, you open this up, and you want this to open this way. So it's going to attach so that it fits in here, but not over this 1/4 inch. So you have your 1/2 inch here, put your glue on the 1/2 inch, and then attach this so that it's even top to bottom, but away, and make sure it's even all the way across, away from this score line. Like that. So open that up and burnish. So now we have that like that. And if you want a magnet on it, you can. I did not put one on mine. This little fold here helps it to lay down flat like that. Okay, so next is our top and bottom flaps. It's out of the way. So you're going to have one here and one here. I believe these are the same size. Yes, okay. Flatten it so that you only see the 1/2 inch, and we're going to put glue on that 1/2 inch part, and we're going to center this. Now you have to look for your fold here, and we're going to put this right along the top, just to the edge here of this 1/4 inch so that it doesn't go over either one. And I'm going to make sure it's straight at the top, and I'm going to lift it up and then burnish this. And you want to make sure you burnish it really good. And now I'm going to take this bottom one, flatten it so you just see the 1/2 inch. Put your glue, and I'm going to close this one down so we can make sure we're lining it up correctly. The same thing here on the bottom, and you just want to make sure they're lining up. Okay, burnish that as well. This should be lined up pretty good here. Okay, so we got that. Just burnishing that, and then we're going to open this up. Okay. Next, we're going to want to put patterned paper down on this. Now, it's kind of got a bump. It's kind of uneven here. So if you want, I think I liked doing this cutting a piece of cardstock. So this is 4 3/8 wide. Just happened to have this scrap here that was already the right length. Just double checking. So when this glues in here, just Need to double check. It might be just a little bit long. I need to trim it down some. So this needs to be, we don't want it in the fold. I'm going to say 6 3/8. 6 3/8. It's just a smidge too long. Now you could just put your pattern paper here if you wanted to, but I'm going to put this because I think it smooths it out, and then I'm going to put the pattern paper on top of this one. And burnish it down. Now we are ready to pick a pattern paper to go on this before we assemble anything else. So I'm going to decide on that. Okay, so I selected the clouds paper and cut it to fit in here. It was about just slightly under 4 3/8 and just a little bit under 6 3/8, so that I have like a little bit of the craft showing. So I've glued that in. So now I'm ready to start on what I'm going to put here in the center. So the first thing we're going to do is assemble this mini waterfall. So we have this one piece here that is the waterfall pages is 4 3/8 by 3.5. So that's the base. Now this one doesn't have any hinges on it. And then we have 3 waterfall pages that were 4 by 3.5, and we scored the 4-inch sides at 3/8 of an inch. So I've already folded and burnished all these hinges here on these 3. So you take the first one and you put your glue on the 3/8 hinge. And we're going to turn this. This is the base, and I'm going to assemble it onto this to get it really nice and straight. So line it up, lift it up, and burnish. And then you take the second one, and you attach it, the fold of it, right up against the cut edge of the previous one. Make sure it's lined up on the sides. And then the third one. Same way, right up against that. And it should fit right here at the bottom. Okay, so we burnished that. So that's the waterfall. So this is the base. Then after I created it, I decided I did want a place for a tag. So we're not going to have a hinge. We're just going to put a little bit of glue on each side. It'll be a flat one. But first we need to attach our doors. So I should have attached the doors before I put my pattern paper in. So I'm going to have to hide that with something. Maybe the waterfall's going to hide it. Almost. Let's see here. There'll still be some of it showing. We'll put pattern paper. So you need to make sure and put your doors on before you add this pattern paper. So I do apologize for that. I've slept since I did the first one, so sorry, but this is going to go here, and then I will pick out something to cover that with. So let's flatten this out so we see just the 1/2 inch. And then we're going to put the glue here. I'll make a note about, let's center this. And you could use a ruler to measure this, but I'm just eyeballing it. And burnish that down. So we want to make sure this other one lines up. Flatten it down so we just see the 1/2 inch. And we want to make sure they are cross even from each other. And straight. So it's going to be like that. Okay, and then this straightens up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so this comes back. Now I'm going to decide what I'm going to put here. I'm going to cut strips of paper or look at my scraps. So now we're ready for the waterfall, and I want it to open this way. So we're just going to put glue right along each edge here so that it leaves an opening for tags. So I'm just going to center this and fit it in between the little 1/4 inch gussets and make sure it's even here. Okay, lift that up and burnish it in here. Here, get it down good, and then you want it attached really good right there. So now we have an opening here, and this is where you'll be able to put a tag. So I want to make sure this is staying stuck right here. Okay, so these come together right there, and we'll have a string closure for them. Okay? To create the string closure here for these little doors, I went ahead and put the pattern paper here on the front. Cut these at 2 inch by 4 1/4. I used the paw prints here in the collection, and I'm going to use 2 brads to make my closure piece. So I'm going to punch a small hole on each side. So hold this up, make sure that's the small one. Right there. Now I'm going to measure where I got this one at. It's about 2 inches from the brown. So I'm going to mark this other one. Okay, got that one marked. So I'm going to punch the other hole. A little closer than the other, but I think it'll be okay. And then go ahead and put your brads in. And open up the prongs on the back. And I kind of, you want to make sure they're running parallel, but then you want to leave the head up just enough to get your string around. And then I'm going to open these up, and I'm going to put a little bit of tape on the back. just to hold these in place. Okay, now then, I've already cut the paper for the back sides, and I'm going to use the trees here. So I'm going to peel the backing off. These are cut the same size as the ones on the front, and I've already inked the edges, so I'm just ready to glue these down. This is the back side of the paw prints. We're going to line this up and glue it over those prongs, securing it in place. And get the other side. Okay, so there's that, and then so take a string. I have a piece of red button string and doubled it. The length is about 5 inches, 5.5 inches. So cut 11-inch piece and double it so that you have a loop here, and then tie a knot down at the bottom. And on the right side here, I'm going to wrap it around the left side brad, and I tied it in a knot, but shouldn't have tied it in a knot yet. You need to tie a knot so that it secures it here, right there. Now then, now tie it in a knot. So that's going to make my piece about a little less than 5 inches total, but that's plenty. So now I've got the knot here on the end. This is tied, secured. So you just wrap it in and out like that. Let it hang. Okay, so that's that closure there. So we also need a magnet here, a magnet set. So I have 2 of the large sets, and I've already got tape on this one piece. So I'm touching it down and pulling the backing off the second one. So I've got 2 magnets, opposing magnets facing each other. So make sure you're standing up your little 1/4 inch here on the bottom, and on the top you want to make these match as best you can. So this one's I've got too far down. I'm going to have to peel that up. Should check that first. Put it here. Okay, bring it down and let them line up correctly. And then gotta separate them. I'm gonna have to put some more tape on this one. Kind of closer to the edge than I would have liked, but it's still going to work. I'm going to put that paper on there and cover that up. I don't know. other one if they were that close or not, but we will make it work. So then it closes down like that. Okay, so that is all the closures except for the elastic closure that we're going to do. That wraps this cover around. So I'm going to be patterning mine off camera. I will show you how to do the closure and how to wrap the spine. But pretty much that's it. Just add extra pockets and things. I will show you what I've done in the final part. So I'll keep working on it and then I'll share with you what I've done.